Thank you for the introduction there. First of all, things I'd like to start our workshop with today is just asking you a question. And at this point in time, I'm not going to get an answer from you, but I want you to think about this, and then we'll revisit this towards the end of our workshop. Why are you all here today? That's going to be our question that we're posing right now to all of you, and we're going to revisit that as we go through. Before we start, there's obviously going to be some people in the room that you may not have known before you got here today, so let's go through and do some introductions, but we're going to do it a little bit differently through our workshop. This is a workshop where, yes, I'll be the trainer and delivering it, but it's going to be very interactive. This is your workshop as much as it's my workshop, and we're going to work together to get the information disseminated through the group tonight. So it's perfect. We have 3 individuals. I'm going to call on them, and then I'm going to separate the group into 3 different audiences. I have a lady there on the left of my screen. In the ink. What's your name, please?
My name is Kelly Kratz.
Kelly, welcome to our workshop. And the gentleman with the red sweater there.
Yeah, I'm Ruben Nieves.
Ruben, welcome, Ruben. And the young lady with the, I think it's a gray sweater right there.
I'm
your
Sam
name, please?
Salvia.
Sam, welcome.
Sam
okay,
Salvia.
So Sam, welcome again. You are the 3 leaders of our first activity, and here's how it's going to work. I'm going to separate you into 3 different areas of our workshop. And your job, and it's perfect today, we have exactly 30 people, so you have 10 people in your group. You are the leader. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to get as much information from the people within your group, and then you're going to deliver that. And as the captain of your team, you can determine if you want to deliver that information or if you're going to delegate that to one of your teammates. It's going to take 15 seconds. Now, the only rule in this game is you have to be standing up and conversing with all the other 10 people in your group. Okay, so Kelly, I'm going to move your group over to the left corner over there. You'll take your 10 people, and they're now following you in the left corner. Sam, you're right there in the middle. We'll have you right there in the middle. You've got 10 people. Ruben, you're going to the right-hand side with 10 people. You can write down any information you want. What we're looking for is what sport they're working with and what the age group of that sport is. All right? So not now, but when I say go, you've got 15 seconds, and then you or one of the people within your group will let us know who you have in your group and what they do. So I'm looking for names, sport, and age group. And go.
Blah, 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 blah.
Okay, 15 seconds is up. Kelly, let's have you deliver just 3 people in your group. We're not going to go through all 10 of them right now, but you have to introduce them and the sport that they're working with in the age group. Go ahead.
Okay, I have Jen, who's coaching T-ball right now, 5- and 6-year-old T-ball.
Okay.
I have Mark, he's coaching 12-year-old lacrosse, and I have Courtney, who's coaching 10-year-old soccer.
Excellent. Welcome, guys. Sam, do you want to give us 3 people in your group?
Yeah, my group was all soccer coaches. We've got Spencer, who's coaching U8, and Amy, who's coaching U10, and I am coaching U8 as well.
Excellent. Ruben, your turn. You can deliver us 3 people from your group.
Yeah, I have Hector, who coaches soccer U10. I have Mel and Steve, who are both baseball coaches, majors, which is 12-year-olds.
So as you can see, everybody, we have a diverse range of coaches here tonight that are working with different age groups, different genders, and just like PCA, the people I work with, we have a lot of various backgrounds, culminating in the one thing that brings everybody together, and that's making sure we have the positive impact in youth sports, and that's what we're here about tonight. And we're going to work through this as we go through tonight with our presentation. Before we do that, I want to show you one video of a gentleman that you may know that's part of Coach Alliance, and I want you to watch the video. So, Kelly, at this point in time, it would be the Steve Young video. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want me to show that right now or just...
That's okay. You can just get it. Yep.
I figured the 3 of you may have seen that once before.
Once or twice.
Once or twice. All right, so... coaches, what do you think about Steve's message? What is he indicating? What resonates with you? And Ruben, we'll start with you. What resonates with you after seeing that video?
Well, how influential we are as youth coaches.
Great. Kelly, anything to add to that?
That after all the Hall of Fame coaches that he has had, that he gives a lot of credit to the very first ones that were actually parent volunteers that didn't really have, formal training.
Excellent. And that's a huge element, because that's why we are tonight, and that's you guys that will make that impact. I'm going to just give you one story of a coach that impacted me as a player. I have tennis background, and I was working with a coach that I'd been recruited by, and my first experience with him was the first 15 minutes on the court, a higher level squad, a lot more intensity, and I was struggling to stay up to pace with this group. Within the first 15 minutes, he recognized that and pulled me aside to the side of the court where we had a cinder block wall, racked his knuckles down the wall to the state where they were bleeding, and said to me that I didn't know what work ethic was and I needed to get back on the court, regardless of whether I threw up or not. So that really impacted me, maybe not in the light that we're going to share tonight, but that was an impact that I had. The same squad that I had was another coach who was very, what we term in Australia, more like a beach bum, very carefree, anything's fine, no big deal. And it was the balance of those two coaches together that really impacted me positively, ultimately, but without one or the other, I definitely would have struggled with those coaches. Sam, can you give us a coach that you remember that impacted you in a positive or negative light?
Sure. Well, I had a field hockey coach in college who was very intense, and I was always, I think she pushed me to be a lot better as a player, but it also tested my confidence a lot, and I felt fearful of making mistakes, and it sort of took years to kind of overcome some of the confidence that I lost through my years in college.
Kelly, listening to Sam's story, would you say that was a negative impact for her or a positive impact for her during that time?
I think overall it's a negative because, as she said, it impacted her for years to come.
Right.
I think that type of a coach gets performance immediately in the short term, but it took her, I think she said it took her a few years to get over that, so
Sure.
I think that's definitely a negative impact.
Sure. Ruben, do you have a coach in mind that had some impact to you, positive or negative?
Yeah, my first youth sports coach at the local boys club, Sal, he all positive impact, I think, helping us become better players, but also helping steer us in a good direction off the court as well.
Right. So as you can see, we've all had different relationships with our coaches over the years, and they all impact us in different ways. Back to Steve Young's point, there was the recreational coaches or his first coaches that really had the high impact to him as far as life lessons and where he was going for the rest of his career. What I wanted to share with you right now is just a real quick piece about those coaches that you had in some impact with. In Sam's case, and also in mine, in the negative aspect, what do you think the overall drive of the coach was? What was their goal by pushing us in that light? What was their focus?
To win.
Win. And definitely in my situation, Sam, I'm not sure if it's the same for you. If I was winning, then my coach had a higher reputation or a better reputation as a good coach, and players would follow where he would go to, where I would go to if I was winning. So it was definitely a focus of his to make sure that his players were winning. And yet my other coach, his focus was to be more in tune with us and how we were performing both mentally on the court and also off the court. So I had the best of both worlds. So we're going to go to another slide, Kelly, and this would be slide 9 at this point, which has the 2 circles there, one with teaching life lessons and striving to win. So now that you've seen that slide, people, what's your feeling as far as where the coaches that I showed you or demonstrated, the first coach that I indicated, which was a negative one, where would they lie? What circle would they fit into?
Who is the question for?
The question is for the group.
Oh, okay. I think the first one fits into the winning circle.
Correct. So that's striving to win, and their focus is winning, which is what Kelly said to us a minute ago. The second coach that I had was more focused on the mental capacity that we were developing as we were going through players, would have fit into the second category, which is the teaching life lessons. What we believe in PCA is it's not about you can still work on striving to win. As a coach, your goal would be to striving to win, but also on the process, teaching life lessons. So that's where we go to the next slide. So there's a merging of the two entities right there, and we would like to see that that would be the double goal of a coach, double goal coach, to work towards both of those at the same time. So
Nigel, can I ask a question, Nigel?
Sure.
So are you saying that the first coach didn't teach life lessons, and that the second coach didn't care about winning? Is that what you're telling us?
The first coach was focused on winning. That was his main priority, was winning. Whether we were being better people at the time was not his priority. If we were winning and getting results, it made him look better as a coach, and then we would, that's the category that we fell into. The life lessons that I got from that was work ethic. It wasn't necessarily developing me as a better person. The second coach that I had was more focused on teaching us life lessons through sport. So his goal was, yes, to develop us as people through tennis, which is a sport.
And he didn't care about winning and work ethic?
His philosophy is more about preparing us mentally to be able to compete. So whether we won or not, the winning side for us was a bonus. In the first coach, winning was everything.
Gotcha.
So what we want to try and do is merge those two together, and that is the double goal coach that we talk about with Positive Coaching Alliance. So we're merging the ability of the coach to work towards winning, and additionally through teaching life lessons as we move forward. All right, so the next slide that we're going to look at, Kelly, would be the development zone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to touch on that real quick. So the focus of Positive Coach Alliance is to ensure that we're not focused on the win at all cost coach, and what we term that is the WAC coach, the win at all cost. That's the example that I used in my first coach. His focus was to win. But we're trying to merge those coaches together. So our goal here is to work towards better athletes and better people, and that's the focus of the coach, developing a culture that's able to create that. We're going to skip over, just for time's sake, of the second goal parent and the triple competitor. In order to do that, our principles that we're going to work for this PCA has very strong principles. There's 3 of them that we work through. I just lost that. Okay, and the first principle that we're going to be working towards today, guys, is working on an emotional tank and building the emotional tank of our players. Before we do that, let's just have a quick game, and we're going to have all 3 of you as part of this game. You can designate a captain of your team. I'm going to designate Kelly, Sam, and Ruben as the captains of your team. And what I'd like to do is, within your team that you have of your 10 people, I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and you're going to touch as many of the team as you can on their knees. Now you get to jump up and touch them on the front of their knee as many times as you can, and I'm going to give you 10 seconds to do that. So that's, at this point in time, we'd have everybody up moving, and I would say go, and around the room we would go, slapping the knees. We did this last time. Kelly's, we did this. All right, so on your marks, you ready, Ruben?
Yep.
You're competing with Sam, and you're competing with Kelly to see who gets the highest score here of knee slaps. Are you ready? And go. Up you go, slapping around. All right, so let's, time is up. Ruben, how many did you get there?
15.
15 in 10 seconds. Kelly, how did you go?
I got 35 this time.
35 this time. Sam, how did you go?
Well, by virtue of saying last, I'm going to go, I had 36.
36, of course.
Not too bad there.
So as you can see, it's fun to compete, but I'm gonna work through this process right now, team, as though I'm the coach, and I'm looking for a win-at-all-cost process here. So let's go back to that numbers. Ruben, you got 15. Ruben, why did you only get 15? We had Kelly that had 36. Sam had 37. What were you doing over there? I was watching your arms. You were flailing around like a whale. I didn't see you know what, Ruben, just sit down for practice, because really you don't want to be here. It's a waste of our time. All right, as coaches, we all know that that's not the right message we want to be sending as a coach. What do you think Ruben is feeling now emotionally as a player on my team, if that's the delivery that I'm going to send, or the message I'm going to send to him? Kelly, what do you think?
I think he's going to be upset. I mean, probably tried pretty hard, and now you're embarrassing him and making him feel bad for what he did.
Sure. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's probably going to feel diminished and ashamed and probably wants to just crawl out of the first door he finds.
Right. And Ruben, you're the unlucky participant. How did you feel about that?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I feel bad.
Right. So that's what we call, my term that I use for that is killers. I'm killing the sport right now. I'm killing Ruben's desire to be a successful athlete and also a better person. Because now what we're having, if that's the behavior I'm modeling, the other players are seeing that, they think that's normal behavior, which it's not. So let's try that again. Ruben, let's go around, and Ruben got 15 again. Sam, great job, 37. Kelly, 36 is great. Anything above 14 is phenomenal for your first attempt. Everyone had a great attempt at that. Ruben, I like the way your arms are going. We could probably get there a little bit more with, going fast with our arms. But great job, everybody. Would you like to try that again, everybody?
Sure.
And the answer is yes. Now, in doing that, let's think about what that turns into for Ruben. Ruben, how do you feel about that?
More encouraged.
Would you want to try it again?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see as an emotional tank right there, I've got Ruben who is not exactly up to par with everybody else, but he's still engaged and wants to play. All right, so give me a couple of, so the first area that I had right there when I was berating him, and we call them tank drainers, all right, on draining his emotional tank. In the second side, we want to make sure that we're filling the tank out. Now, Sam, what do you think the magic ratio of me filling his tank and draining his tank would be for me to be successful as a coach?
2 to 1.
2 to 1. Kelly, what do you think?
I think it's probably higher. I think it's like 4 to 1.
Yeah, it's definitely higher. It's up near 5 to 1, and some studies have proven that once we get to 5 to 1, we're definitely on the right plan to get our players in the right area. There's some tools that we have in our double goal coaching book that will allow you to go through that process. We'll talk about one of them right now, and then you can read the rest throughout the book. One is the buddy system. For you to get 5 to 1 ratio of positives to negatives, it's maybe difficult for you to do that alone throughout your coaching session. However, you can use players to help that out there. You can have at the end of your session, have players go around what someone did well, using them to be part of the process. You can also have players themselves become coaches. Ask them, what do they do well? And then you can focus on that. Yes, Kelly, you did that well. What did you think you did well, Kelly? A few tools that we would add into the whole process to get our emotional tanks filled for our players. They will work harder. They will be more engaged. And we want to make sure that when we are giving them positive feedback, that it is truthful. I had this workshop that I did in San Diego. One of the players was a former WTA player, and we were doing a coach certification, and the player that was teaching her suggested to her that she had a great volley at the time. The player herself knew that the volley was probably ordinary at best, and she didn't buy into that positive feedback that she got. So make sure that the positive feedback that you are is truthful, and that it's all part of the process. Kelly, can you give me another way in which you can give some positive feedback other than verbal?
I think just nonverbal, just thumbs up or clapping, because sometimes across the field, I coach field sports, you can't hear a person.
Right.
Nonverbal.
Exactly. So every action that you have, verbal, nonverbal, expressions, and even just listening to your players can help fill their emotional tank. Then I would go on to the next one would be a scenario. And that'd be bad. I think I'm out of time there, Cody.
Yeah. Nice job. You actually had 2 minutes to spare.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah.
I rushed through a few pieces there, and I got caught up on one part of it. And I definitely think having the content the way it's on the PowerPoint now is more helpful for me. I need to go over the content more so it's solidified in my mind, so I'm more confident in the areas I'm delivering and the track that I'm delivering. But
when you say you got caught up at one point, what are you referring to?
There's one part where I got stuck on, and I think it was right between merging the two models of a coach winning at all costs, and then a coach that's teaching life lessons and merging that together as being one coach, being the double goal coach. But I don't think that message was clear enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my question to you was about that,
Right.
So you picked up on that, and then you did, when I asked my question, you did clarify that the goal is to merge and to do both, that you don't have to be one or the other. Yeah, so you did clarify, and next time you'll make that clarification earlier.
Right.
Can I just ask a quick question though? The one thing,
Sure.
can I write down on when you were trying to explain that, because I could see it was sort of not clear. You were kind of rephrasing how you said things. The one thing that you did say is we want to merge the coach that believes winning is everything and life lessons. And I'm just trying to think, I think the idea of double goal coach is the coach that strives to win and teach life lessons, but I don't know if we want to give the message as winning is everything.
Right.
It's like it's almost one end of this, but I don't know. Ruben and Sam, you can comment on that. But just I wrote that down because it struck me as I don't think it's a merge of the win at all cost coach and the coach that teaches life lessons. I think you had that merge in your life of your two coaches. But I think the double goal coach is not really a blend of win at all costs and life lessons teacher. I think it's more striving to win. Do you agree?
I totally agree, and that's part of the piece that I was getting tripped up on, because I wasn't articulating that you can be working towards winning, but we want to merge the winning and the teaching life lessons and not being one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
So what I didn't get across.
Yeah, maybe it's. I was going to say maybe I'm not sure merge is the right maybe verb for what you're trying to describe. Because I think one thing you should bear in mind with our audiences is some of them are afraid we're going to come in and tell them winning isn't important. And so often the message I try to get across is you've got two goals. You're striving to win and teach life lessons. And if those goals ever come in conflict, the life lessons is the one that's going to win out. And then sometimes I even ask the audience, can you give an example of a time when those goals have conflicted for you and how you handled it?
Right.
And maybe you've got a good example of that in your background. That might be more powerful. The coach who benches the star player because he was late for practice or had a bad attitude or something like that.
Right. And Kelly, that was the point that I was, just to Stan's point, that's what I was getting tripped up on, the merging of those two.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what I was trying to do is separate and have a distinction between my experience with one and the other, and the fact that I had those two working together, which was successful for me, but our goal would to be a double goal, as in striving to win, but definitely teaching the life lessons in that process. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just if you guys don't mind, I'll just start off with a couple things since we're already talking about that. I thought you did a nice job. I do think you seemed like more prepared with the content. I think last time you hit some points, but they were sort of out of order. So I thought they were in a better order for you. I thought you seemed a little bit more rushed and nervous this time than you did the last time, which is funny because usually it works the opposite way.
Well, I was more focused on making sure I didn't go overtime this time delivering the content before I missed out because I was doing all those games and fun stuff.
Okay. Well, it is important in a live workshop to be attentive to the time. I think you have to just remember that the audience doesn't know how much time things are going to take.
Right.
So, to feel like you're rushing to get through something. I think your games are great. They're energetic and they get the audience engaged. Maybe some of them, you would spread it out throughout the whole workshop, so it's not a couple right in a row. Sure. And that could change your pace a little bit more than trying to fit them all in. I think your personal story was great about your two different coaches. I think that it seems that's a really big drive for you in your coaching. What I would like to see is a little bit more description on, because all I got from that, and I don't know if it's just because I wasn't writing or fast, but you had the first one that scraped his knuckles down the wall and said, you don't know how to work. And part of me is thinking, why is he scraping his knuckles down the wall? Like, I just didn't quite relate to that story exactly. I mean, I can tell he's that kind of a coach. He's this intense guy. But, I mean, was he angry? Was he punching the wall? I didn't really get that all the way. And the second one, I have this great picture in my head of this beach bum type coach, but I didn't hear the value in the beach bum coach. Like, what did that, I understand that he was a little more relaxed, and later on you told us that he did focus on the life lessons. But just when you told that very first story, I'm picturing like this crazy guy with bloody knuckles and this surfer dude, and I was like, how is this working? in your world of coaching. So just to clarify those two coaches, so I get a better picture of who they were in your life and what you learned from them, maybe a little bit more. The other thing, I think you do a great job at asking the audience, making it very conversational, bringing us in, and obviously in a room full of 30 coaches, you wouldn't just be calling on us. But the one thing that I would encourage you to do is give us some think time. Sometimes when we pose questions, we would look at somebody and say, okay, Ruben, who is your most influential coach? Or Sam, tell me about this. Or Nigel, tell me about this. And sometimes people feel put on the spot a little bit, whereas if you kind of pose a question and give the group a chance to think about it a little bit, and then, maybe ask them to tell someone else next to them, or maybe ask them to share with their group, which, as I said, in a real live workshop, I'm sure you would do that. I just want you to be hesitant, just be aware that sometimes just asking people, calling their name and asking them does make people uncomfortable sometimes. What else did I have here? I thought the emotional tank, I think the touching the knee game is fine. I think your example of, kind of berating the person that gets the lowest score, I think that's a very clear, easy example. I would almost like to see some other people in the group give some negative coaching comments as well. I think that could take you out of the spotlight a little bit, and let's see what the other coaches come up with. Of course, asking permission of Ruben first, is it okay if we put you on the spot here? That might make it a little bit more fun and energetic to get the audience into it. And then asking the audience again, okay, now we know Ruben was feeling terrible because he only got 15, because he's such a loser. No, just kidding, Ruben. What could we do? What could we do now as a positive or double goal coach? How could we, maybe just get the audience involved in that a little bit more?
Right.
You can do, because a lot of people are really successful, strong, positive coaches already. And again, just when you said the emotional, you said something. I think you said emotional tank real quickly. You threw that in there before we really knew what the emotional tank was. Maybe just taking a second to say, okay, like the goal of the principle is what I'm looking for, because that comes right after the Elm Tree of Mastery, where the goal of Elm Tree of Mastery is performance. It's research-based, performance-driven culture of how you can coach to get the best out of your athletes. Maybe just take a pause for a second. The second principle we're talking about is emotional tanks. What does that mean? What would you say the goal of that principle is, Nigel, before you go right into it?
Sorry, I'm writing.
That's okay.
I didn't get that question.
What would you say the goal of filling the emotional tank principle is? Before we get into the details of it.
What would I say it is?
Yes.
I would say ensuring that your players are in a positive frame of mind to compete.
Yeah, exactly, right there. And I think that's clear, and that would get the audience in the right frame of mind, because you just went from emotional tank, you just went from Elm Tree of Mastery, and now you're switching gears to the emotional tank, so change our frame of mind. So now we're thinking about, okay, we've got to get the athletes in the right frame of mind so that they are coachable, so that they will work harder, stick to things longer, that type of a thing. Right. So those were just a few of my suggestions, but I thought you did well. Ruben or Sam?
Sam, why don't you go?
Sure. Let me start with some of the things I really liked. I liked that when you referred to PCA, you said we, which is good. I love how involved you got everyone right away, although I agree with Kelly that sometimes calling on people puts them on the spot, and you'll really just need to read your audience for whether you want to ask for volunteers. And I thought, your presence, your delivery, I was interested, wanted to hear what you had to say, so I think your presence is really good. And I think if you can just, to Kelly's point, just tighten up the message a little bit. Introduce the term double goal coach a little earlier. Maybe even when you are at the very beginning, talk about, that's the title of the workshop, right, is double goal coach, becoming a double goal coach. And then you skip the slide with PCA's vision for youth sports, because I think you were feeling like you were rushed for time. I think that slide's one that I usually hit really quickly, the one that's got triple impact competitor and double goal coach and second goal parent. I think you can, the simplest way to say is PCA's got a vision for youth sports. We like every coach to be a double goal coach, every athlete to be a triple impact competitor who focuses on making themselves better, making their teammates better, making the game better, and every parent to be a second goal parent. And it's kind of as simple as that, and you move on. So you don't have to define one of those terms, but I think it's a good one to hit because it gets this idea across that we've got a vision for how youth sports is going to look, and I'm going to talk to you about your role in it.
Right.
Those are my thoughts.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, I don't have too much to add to the comments that have already been made. I think the highlights are Nigel. You you bring activity. I think it's a strength of yours that you see the value and you want your workshop to be active, and active in terms of participants discussing, but you go above and beyond that to actually get us up and moving around and doing things. You had us compete. So those are things that stood out to me. Nigel, I'd be curious, what did you think, what did you see as the strengths of your workshop today?
The strengths of the workshop, I definitely like to have a workshop be more of a guided discovery process, an active process, and you hit that on the head there, Ruben. I want the participants to be involved in it as much as I am, should they choose to do so. Kelly mentioned about calling on people. That's something that when I do my trainings and workshops that I do for PTR and USTA, it's really important to get to know your audience and read them as you go through, right? So you're not calling on people. One of the things we do for our coaching, for our PTR stuff, when we have a competition, if the last person there, when we, to a certain point, if they're the last person in the competition, they have to sing Mary Had a Lamb. Now, we all know not everybody likes to sing Mary Had a Lamb. So it's important that when you go through that process that you're reading the audience and doing that. And I think that's one of my strengths is in an audience form, that I can read the strengths and calling on people that I know are going to be taking part of that. Mm-hmm. And if they don't want to share, that's okay. You can help them out in sharing that information. So from that aspect, I like to try and get as many people involved as I possibly can.
Well, you obviously, Nigel, you obviously don't want to do anything that makes people not want to be there.
Correct.
That right? I think we agree that's one of the last things we want to do is put people in a situation or ask them to do something that makes them go, gosh, I don't want to be here. I want to get out of here. Right. And for some people, being called on and singled out, that'll do it.
Sure.
Or some people being asked to sing "Mary Had a Little Lamb" might do that.
Right.
So I think with the activities, we want to keep that in mind. And then the other thing about activities, Nigel, is you want to choose activities that are easy and fast to set up.
Right.
So an activity that takes 5 minutes to set up, let's have these 10 people over here and this captain and that captain, and then it takes 15 seconds to do, that's not a valuable use of our time. So, we all of us, as we choose activities, we want to keep that in mind as well.
Right. So that, again, like I suggest, being active and getting everybody involved is definitely a key for me, making sure they feel part of the process, not like it's a lecture, because I think that's also a turn off for a lot of people. And I know, and I've been to one of these previously where I had to go because that was the soccer club that I was coaching my daughter's team with. That was part of our process. We had to go through the course. And you could tell the people who just didn't want to be there from the get-go. So my goal would be trying to involve as many people as they would like to be as you go through the process.
Hey, Nigel, can I ask you another question here?
Sure.
Refresh my memory. I don't think you've been to a live. Oh yeah. You the live workshop, PCA workshop you went to. Kathy Toon was the trainer. Is that right?
I've seen Kathy at one, yeah, and then I did another one wasn't a double goal. It was the parent.
Yeah.
Session.
Okay, good. So you have seen a couple of PCA workshops and a couple different trainers in action.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
The last minute thing that Nigel, I love activity. I'm a huge proponent of getting people up and out of their seats and moving around. But one caution, and you know this because you've done this before, because there is so much PCA content, is really practicing it with the time constraints. Because there have been some activities that I thought, this is awesome, and then I look around and go, oh my gosh, that just took 17 minutes to do that. Because you have people at 8 o'clock at night that are slow, and you say, okay, everybody get up, move to a corner, and go, and you've got these people like slowly getting there. So I think just the management of people sometimes really slows down your workshop so that you have to make up for lost time somewhere else. So just being aware of that.
Yeah, that initial activity I've used with success to expedite the introduction process of, instead of having 30 people introduce themselves, going around the room for 30 30 different people in that team environment, and if you only give them 15 seconds, that can expedite that process. But I totally understand what you're saying, Kelly, as far as now I've spent 15 minutes on that. Where do I go from here? I've got 10 minutes or whatever it is.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you. I think one of your greatest next steps is going to be to get you in front of live people to see how you do manage a group and how you do this. And I'm anxious to. Obviously, Sam and Ruben probably have a better chance of getting out to see you live than I do. But I think that would be a fantastic next step to do for you.
Okay. So what is the? I've got personally, I've got some more research to do on the content and doing that type of stuff. And then working through a delivery process for me, making sure that I'm in line with the structure and the timeline for PCA. But in terms of the next process for me after this, what is the next step?
So Nigel, Sam and I will look for an opportunity to see if we can plug you into a live workshop where you do, say you go out and Samantha's the certified trainer. You know, she handles the bulk of the workshop, and you do a piece like you did today. We're going to look for that type of opportunity. We also know that we're heading into a slower workshop period here. June and July are our two slowest workshop months. So what we might want to do, if we're getting too delayed to get you in a live workshop, is we do a mock, but instead of online like this, it's a lot. You know, we're together. You know,
sure.
Like when you came in and auditioned at the office. Maybe we get a group of people together and we say, okay, Nigel, let's have you take us through, you know, the first half of the workshop, or take us through the whole workshop, or take us through whatever you feel confident and prepared to take us through. So it'll be a combination of those two things, and we'll be opportunistic. We'll look for what opportunities there are, and if we're not seeing the opportunities we want, then we'll set something up.
Perfect. And if any times or any dates that come up, even if it's last minute, you can let me know. I'm pretty excited to be part of PCA, but you know, I'm also excited to learn more and grow as a trainer as well. So any opportunities that you see fit that pop up, I'd love to jump on board that.
All right. Thanks, Nigel.
Great. Thank you, Nigel.
What's your availability? Nights best, evening,